This is Drew from Arrowbrick Gaming, and I definitely do not listen to Discard to Reroll.
Touch won't trash, Daddy.
I won't roll trash.
That thing looks dangerous, man. Poorly made. The little kid made it.
Then you don't have to look at it anymore!
I'm 90% sure Matt is Kylo Ren.
Hey everybody, this is Agent of Zion from Artificery. I really don't listen to any Destiny podcasts, but top of the list of the ones that I don't listen to, Discard to Reroll.
Hey, this is Bobby Sapphire from the Hyperloops, and I legit never listen to Mr. Chip on Discard to Reroll.
Discard to Reroll.
It's Discard to Reroll. We're a podcast about a little dice and card game we like to call Star Wars Destiny. I'm your host, Mr. Chip, and thank you for listening. It's regional season, which means the news for Star Wars Destiny is finally starting to explode. It's exciting time. It's the new year. We've got the new set coming out. There was a spoiler that actually happened about a new draft kit, draft set that would be coming out. And I'm sure a lot of you know, actually, if you've seen that cover, who the character is. Of course, I don't, because I like the movies, and I don't recognize that character from the movies, but we don't want to spoil any of that until we have some more news about it. What we're going to talk about today is some hot Destiny regionals action and the new meta, which is finally starting to take shape now that regional season is in full swing across the country and the globe. And we are joined by none other than Bobby Sapphire from the Hyperloops. And Bobby was worried nobody loved him anymore. But then he rolls into Connecticut with Qui-Gon Ayla and his old friend, the Blue Hero. Does him good. Brings him back. He goes 7-0 in Swiss. And, of course, has a great showing because he's a great player. And we talked to him at length. Also, if you happen to be a Patreon, first of all, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. And second of all, thanks for sticking with us. We're going to give you the exclusive, extra exciting Star Wars content that was beyond Destiny. And Ray and Mike started to wax their knowledge of all things Star Wars. And it was actually a really great conversation. So that is part of the Patreon. And I really want to say thank you to all the people who've made that possible. All of you, you got to understand, if you support any of the content creators out there, you help to keep this game really going. And I want to say thank you for choosing Discard to Reroll. We know we're casually competitive. That's why we brought the Thunder to give you some really good stuff. And he was great in the interview, which you're about to hear. But I want to say a personal thank you to all of you. I don't thank you enough. It's Tony Samana, Zach Anderson. Thanks, Zach. I'll give you your second chances when I see you. Bobby Bullock, Johnny Tenpins, Daniel Kretschmer, Forrest and Katrina stuck with us all the way through. Justin Allen, James Dorff, Adam Falascio, Brian I'm just going to say Brian O. Banana Crapshoot's part of it. Halborn, Bobby Sapphire himself, Jonathan Moss, Aaron Harding, Jason Belts, the mailman delivering, Tim Sudduth, we've got Chris Lancy, Arrowbrick Gaming, Christopher Mena, Trey Demukes, Brian Piana, Symbio, Eddie Coughlin, Jackalman Games, great content as well. Monks Gaming Battlefield did some awesome streaming just recently all that crazy stuff that happened in San Diego. One with a Force, thank you. Golden Dice Podcast, of course. You know our friends, Jack and Tommy and Scott and the rest of those folks. Shane, if he's even there. Lee Price, Andrew Cravens, and Mike Rudin. Mike, who was going again with Solo Sabine. All of you have made this show possible and have donated much more than you could ever possibly imagine financially. So thank you so much for all of your support. We are finally getting back. I say this all the time, but we're actually now have them in hand. Some great rewards. I can't talk about them, of course, because God forbid we get in trouble. But we've got some great stuff finally coming out to all of you for giving us your support. It means so much to us. It means so much to the show. It helped to pay the bill. Actually paid the hosting bill that just came up again for another month, and then the bill for hosting the MP3 files. So thank you for making the show possible. Now, on with the show. We've got Bobby Sapphire, the Hyperloops, a great conversation. Get involved with the show. It's questions at discardtoreroll.com. Enjoy the program. Our guest today is widely regarded as one of the best Destiny players in the world. His team, the Hyperloops, have also put out some of the best competitive content on the internet since day one. Ray, you do great stuff too. I don't mean to put you down with that, Ray.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Great stuff. Okay.
Keep doing the setup.
But this guy's 1/3 of the Hyperloops, and after watching his latest video grinding some Magic the Gathering, he's also going after his teammate Nick Cuenca's title of most exposed chest hair on an internet video. Was that a onesie you were wearing, Mike? I don't know. There's like a hood was up. The chair's coming out. Ladies and gentlemen, the pride of Massachusetts, it's Mr. Bobby Sapphire. Mike, how are you?
What's up?
What's going on, man?
I'm good. My chest hair grew back. My wife shaved it over the summer, but it's back, baby.
Dude, that was sharp. You were wearing, I saw Magic the Gathering. You were like grinding for, I don't know, glosses or whatever they are in Magic. I forgot what they're called.
Yeah, it's like, so Magic basically copied Hearthstone, and I've been playing a little bit for fun, and I was just, my buddy and I were trying to get him to the highest level. He was 2 wins away from like Mythic, which is basically like pro rating on the new Magic program. So we're just having some fun doing some Magic, going back to my roots, what got me, spent a long time playing Magic before I got back into Star Wars gaming and Destiny.
Yeah, Mike, one of the things, my regret from PAX is not being able to hook up with you over there because you were playing every possible game. Did you even play? I saw Versus there. Were you playing that at PAX?
No, I thought about it, but man, I was not that far away. I was just playing X-Wing, and
shirtless, by the way, shirtless. Were you not? Or was that not you?
One of those. That was not me.
Oh, okay. I thought that was you. I'm sorry.
I always rock a thematic tank top under whatever I'm wearing because I'm into layers, but I never go full bare chested. I'll pull out the guns. One of my favorite comments from Worlds was when I wore the tank top on stream, and someone was like, "Aren't sleeves mandatory for Star Wars Destiny? It's in the tournament regs." That was pretty good.
Did you go sleeveless and those big ass beats at the same? Was that the same thing?
Man, I have Bose QC35s. You got to get my sponsors right. You can't be telling people use.
You got so mad about that too. Somebody brought it up.
Oh yeah, it's just so funny. Like I don't know, just internet people. I think we talked about it last time, but man, it's just so funny how mad people get. I just want to listen to us like 1 minute of Star Wars soundtrack to calm my nerves.
Right.
People get so mad. I love people that judge other people's mental states. It's great.
That was one of my favorite moments when I feel like it was like a hold on a second, let me take off my hoodie and then unveil. Was it like the Boba Fett tank top?
I do. I always rock that Boba Fett tank top when I'm playing Destiny.
Good look.
Yeah, thanks, man. I love that thing. I got it like, I don't know, probably Hot Topic or something for $20.
It's the intimidation factor. That's what it was.
You got to pull out the pasty, the pearly whites. I just show off my tattoos, man. That's what intimidates people, right?
Layered.
Yeah, it's theater. You got to have a little feel. The more this game goes on, and the more I have to say about FFG. Like, thank God there's a personality. Like, for Christ's sakes, we need a little bit of somebody that can spice it up a little bit and get people thinking. Because without that, honestly, it's like you got to get excited for something, right? I mean, we just had regionals come up, and we'll talk about that with you and some of the decks that you've been playing. But you got to have something to look forward to when you're watching this stuff on stream. Otherwise, you're looking at people's dirty hands rolling dice.
You got to have fun. Like, man, it's just like people just take – I mean, I take the game seriously, but I'm at least trying to have fun when I play.
For sure. Well, I want to say you were recently it was the Connecticut Regional, right? What was the store that was at?
That's Tabletop Gaming in Newington, Connecticut. They're a great store. They hosted 100 of us last year for the regional.
Jesus,
100. And then there were about that store can hold 150.
That's solid.
That's the one store that like they didn't do pre-registration, but I have no fear of showing up there just because I know they've always treated me well, and any event I've gone to has been excellent, X-Wing or Destiny.
Yeah, is that your home store?
Like A or B?
No, that's it's an hour away from me.
Okay.
But I'll travel. I've traveled to events there, and I've just really enjoyed the store. Yeah. They have a great deal when you sign up. You can sign up for the event fee, which like for the regional was $15, or if you buy $25 in store credit, they give you the entry for free. So you buy $25, you get the free entry, which costs you $15. So you're really getting $10, quote unquote, or $15 of value there. So like, yeah, just like a bunch of people bought packs. Some people signed a bunch of people up and bought a box. I got X-Wing ships, obviously. So you just get whatever you want. It's a regular game store. It's just a great deal. They didn't give out anything extra, but they absolutely, hook people up with that deal.
Yeah, that's solid. I mean, it's enjoyable no matter what happens at the end of the day. Is that how many people were at the regional this time?
I think it was 49 or 50, somewhere in the 50-ish range.
Yeah, Ray, do you think the numbers have been higher, Ray, in the regionals coming up?
Well, seeing as I attend every single one, that's not true at all. I haven't been able to make one regional this season. I just feel like it's like the weekends come up and, I either have some type of other obligation, but I've been hearing good news. Like it's on the rise so much so that like stores have had to cap, attendance and things like that. I think that happened in Virginia. I think they actually capped it at like a 60 something. So I think it's good news. I think it looks like it's on the rise.
We had 65 in Connecticut. Yeah, they did cap in Virginia. And the guy who I played on stream, and he top 8'd, but we were playing for 7-0. He was the 65th person in Virginia and drove all the way down there and got turned away. But his friend was 64th, so he had to stay there all day.
Oh,
isn't that crazy?
That's a shame, though. But,
that sucks.
I mean, yeah.
So blue.
I mean, it's a good sign, though.
Oh, definitely. Go ahead, Ray. I'm sorry, I stepped on your thunder.
That's
yeah,
it.
same.
I'm just drinking over here.
Yeah.
It made us grab beers before we started recording.
Right.
So.
Hey, you guys are taking it. I have a White Russian, so you guys are have it easy right now. Wait, can we loop back around how you dodged me at PAX East? PAX Unplugged, Chip?
Listen, here's what
you like sit. What? Go ahead.
Please. There's no excuse. Excuses. I'm old, Mike. Driving all the way down there. We did that in a day. Which, I mean, it's 6 hours. I mean, you should do that in a day, unless you have bladder of a baby. And it's just, I don't know. It's 8 o'clock. I'm tired. I get back to the hotel. I got cards. I hate traveling with that game. I mean, you've done this before where you've stayed at a hotel. You guys get Airbnbs. You do your your bedside vlogs that you do. That one is still my favorite internet video about Destiny with the three of you sitting on the bed.
That was pretty fun.
I bring all my dice. I'm the guy that freaking schleps all his shit over there, and
I bring one deck.
You're smart. I got to do that because I don't know what I'm going to play when I get there. And then
I know, but then like you have analysis paralysis, and you've got to figure it out. I just pack one deck. I mean, I think that's what really helped me at Worlds is I just packed one deck. I was like, this is what I'm playing. I brought no other cards. Maybe like 3 uncommons to like maybe swap in, but that was it.
That's smart. I just
still get stopped in airport security. But yeah, you got to hang out and have dinner next time, man. Can't be in the same place and not say hi.
All right. That was on me. We definitely will. But freaking the guy who had the PAX Pox was Drew from ABG. And Tommy.
Man, we ran into Drew at the bar, and man, he looked like he was hurting.
Yeah. And then Tommy, I don't know what happened to him. He had, I don't know, in his eye or something. It was bad. But it was claimed it was an eyelash, and then they blamed it on me. But I didn't even play him, so I don't know what's going on.
It sounds like a whole bunch of horse manure.
It was bad. It was very bad. But
I just envision Mike traveling to tournaments with like his single deck box strapped in, passenger seat, and then Joe sitting in the back. Like that's playing 80s music.
Right.
That's their travels.
Exactly what we do.
So let's talk about Qui-Gon. I thought this guy was the bomb. I thought this was going to be my guy. I brought him to my local a couple weeks ago. I got mopped up. Now I get that I can't play, but then of course you start sitting on this deck and you go 7-0, 8-0, Swiss, whatever. Just last weekend, you crush it with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Qui-Gon's real good. What were you losing to?
I don't know. I the game that I wanted to just quit Destiny. It was Boosh freaking Yoda.
Man, so I took that deck to my regional. I went 1-4.
Yeah,
it was rough. That's why I was saying I was a pariah. No one wanted to talk to me because I went 1-4, and they were like, "Oh, you're washed up." I didn't play for like 5 or 6 months. I had a kid, had some family stuff. Come back, get crushed. People looked at me. They were talking to me like my dog had died. They were like, "What? You're 1-4? I'm so sorry." It was just crazy. But yeah, so all right, Qui-Gon. Let me ask you this. Did you have a bunch of like crazy shield events like heightened awareness and become one and all that stuff?
Yes. I think that was the problem.
See, I don't know if what you might need to thunder me out here, but I just cut all the cute shit. I don't have any of that. I don't have any crazy weird shield stuff. It's just a solid blue hero deck. And I just stuck with my synchronicities because those have always been really good to me. And the only thing that even cares about shields in my whole deck is Your Eyes Can Deceive You. But that's almost a freebie because it's just so good against Vader. That's the one. It's a 1-cost support that when you roll a shield and it triggers off a reroll too, you can exhaust it and turn a die of theirs to any side. So it even can turn Fist, which is good. It's not relegated to just blanks. And that's the only thing I did that even remotely cared about shields. And I played Jedi Robes because it's just so insane turn 1.
Yeah, Jedi Robes, I think. Ray, we were talking about that a little bit beforehand, too.
Yeah, it's just a great setup card. You could play that out and then overwrite it in the same turn. You get 2 shields and a
yeah, but the thing is with Qui-Gon though, you don't even have to overwrite it. Against Mill, it's actually the best possible upgrade. If you start with the shields and you put 1 on Ayla, 1 on Qui-Gon, drop that, you've got 3 shields. It's got 2 focus sides. So with Qui-Gon's ability, those become 2 focus, which is absolutely bonkers. It's 1 disrupt becomes a 2 disrupt, which means it's actually like a resolvable side. And then even though 1's modified, it's got 2 resource sides. So there were several games where I just took 4 resources with those dice round 1 between Qui-Gon and his, and then I was dropping 3 cost upgrade on Ayla next turn, and I was just super set up. And that's what really why I cut Destiny. A lot of people like Destiny as a ramp card, and because the robes essentially became my heightened awareness, my whatever, like the focus that a blue hero deck really wants but never has, and my Destiny. It did all the things that I wanted to do in one card: ramped, focused, and put shields on Qui-Gon.
So I played, Ray and I were playing beforehand, and I wanted to test that deck out and see what it could do. He crushed me because he was playing this stupid, what was the deck you were playing? Lando, Wedgie, Shadowcaster, Reset, right? Ray? Did we lose Ray?
Ray's gone.
What did he do?
He's getting more beer.
What is going on with his internet? So that's what he pulls out, this crazy Shadowcaster deck. Lando's hitting 4. He's generating so much money right off the top. Pulls a Falcon out. I don't even know what he's got in that deck. But
you know what? Blue Hero is supposed to have a good matchup against that deck. Do you have Close Quarters Assault? Do you have Deflect?
What are you like? Steadfast is a card that always confuses me too. Is that a card that you feel like is a hard mulligan? Are you trying to get that out like to counter the bitter rivalry that you have out there? Like, what's the
in general, it's a pretty strong first round play, and if you do get it, you want to make it your first action because you don't want to get something discarded with like a friends in low places or something. But I generally like everything, you want an upgrade. So you want a 2-cost upgrade. That's the most important thing. And I wouldn't throw back a hidden motive or a 4-speed to go get a Steadfast, but I will basically keep 1 2-cost upgrade and ship everything else that's not hidden motive or 4-speed to hope to get a Steadfast. And then what I'll do is I will, I'm either on my battlefield and I can Steadfast, then use Steed to play an upgrade, or I'll just work really hard to roll out Ayla and hopefully roll a resource with her, or just make sure I get an upgrade down by the end of the round.
Right. So you're usually starting with Ayla. I think that was my problem. I forgot who I was. It wasn't Ayla though that it was partnered with. So that's you love Ayla as a character.
I do love Ayla, and I love that sequence of just like I can start every round, give her the 4-speed, and I can start every single round by rolling her out. And if she rolls on sticks, then my guards are active. If she rolls special, then I'm turning their dice. I can turn 2 of their dice because I can special chain her. And then if she rolls the 4-speed special, or she can chain her special to the 4-speed special, so I can do the rollout and resolve Qui-Gon's dice immediately kind of shenanigans.
Right.
All right, I'm back. I think.
What
all right.
What are you doing?
We didn't know what happened. Were you getting yelled at or what?
No, I heard everything and I was commenting. It's just like my mic cut out. I don't know. That was weird.
The Thunder, ladies and gentlemen. The Thunder. There he is.
Nice.
No microphone. Rady, what do you have to say about that? So I feel like Bobby plays you, he crushes you. I play you, you made me look like a chump.
So my question was, because I looked at Bobby's list, and it was, I guess you went into it with the Jedi robes and everything. So you're just using, you're obtaining shields naturally without doing any cute shit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Wait, how'd you see my list? That list is private.
I don't know.
How are you getting all this stuff?
Violating the Patreon code.
How are you getting all this stuff?
That's fine.
Ray.
That's fine.
I have sources.
That's exactly what I refer to it as when you were gone from us. I cut all the cute shit. I just put shields on the old-fashioned way. I resolve those Qui-Gon dice. They're insane.
As shields.
Yeah. I mean, if I roll a 2 shield and it's going to buff all my other dice, then and it's going to keep them alive longer. I think maybe that's what I just have the patience to resolve those shield sides that maybe other people don't have. I don't know.
I think that definitely I don't have any patience with it. I felt like you did that stupid TLT on me, and that's a tough combo.
That is a tough one, and that's the thing. TLT and Vader both they put us in these weird positions where we can't mitigate the dice we want, right? So, what I like to do is that's why I like hidden motive so much, because I can do things like, all right, I'll hidden motive the TLT die or Vader die, and then they'll roll it back out, or I'll still have this other die to deal with. But I try and that's why I like Ayla. That's why I like Your Eyes Can Deceive You, because those things can still interact with the Vader die or the Shadowcaster die, even beyond the abilities that makes those so strong. And because otherwise you have to set up these plays where you hit in motive, they roll it back, or you hit in motive and you hope they don't have damage on the Shadowcaster, and then you have to do a double removal, which is hard because a lot of decks can't afford to either fit them in their list or pay for them via resources. Also, I ran a Beguile because I just feel like that's really strong. Turning dice is just the best way to combat dice you're not allowed to remove, quote unquote. So that's really what I went for here between Ayla, Your Eyes Can Deceive You, Beguile.
Yeah, I feel like that's such a solid combination too. Those guys together. Ray was ripping on the Bitter Rivalry because you're giving him a 6 card, you're taking the 2 right off the top. What you had run some. What's the one where it's you have to run a Highlander version? What's that card?
Solidarity. I tried that for a while, but I couldn't deal with not having a second hidden motive, a second guard, and a second force solution. Right. Those just made the deck way too dubious when it came to staying alive.
Right. And what did you ultimately lose to? Or was it a Vader Greedo?
Yeah, so I was 2-0 against Vader Greedo in Swiss, and I was 7-1 in playtesting in the week leading up.
Jesus.
But I just got run over by Vader in the top 8 by the guy who ended up winning. And he's a good player, Chris Monroe. He's from New England. I've known him since I first started the game. He goes by Chrono on TTS, and we used to play a lot back when TTS first started up. And I really liked his list. I really liked what he was doing. He was mitigating a lot more. I definitely got punished by sort of falling into that trap where you just assume a Vader Greedo doesn't have a lot of mitigation, and left my dice in a little too long trying to get max damage, because that's what my plan was against Vader, was just get max damage and race. And he just kind of sat back, mitigated my dice. He didn't do a lot of damage to me for 2 rounds, but then what he did was he finally got his upgrade out, and he let me do a bunch of damage to him, and then he played Rise again for another upgrade, and then he just trucked me. Game 2. And then game 1, he just played a round 1 fist. And I can deal with a fist, but round 1 is a little too early.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Rise again's pretty solid in that deck. It's just brutal.
I think that people, it's funny because every podcast you listen to, every conversation on Discord, it's devolves into this, is Vader really good? And I think when good players play Vader, it's really, really good. And when good players build the right kind of Vader deck and know exactly what cards to play and when, then it's completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
If I had a regional tomorrow, I would just play Vader.
Yeah. Why do you think, and Ray, jump into this one too, why do you think people, particularly in the competitive scene, stay away from it? Is it because it's good or it's cheesy, which is not cheesy, but is it because it's the thing and I'm going to counter the thing? It's so good that I don't want to play the good thing. I want to play the thing that beats the good thing. Is it the challenge? Why do people stay away from it?
I think a lot of the time, competitive players. I've heard Mike before say well, if a deck is performing to a certain level, if you're a competitive player who's trying to go out there and win, then it's a no-brainer. Bring the best deck, extrapolate all the data and bring the best deck because you're in it to win it. I think there's another group of competitive players that is also out there. I don't want to say to prove something, but to show that they can beat it with something else and then push that out to the public. So I think that there's a certain type of competitor that likes to look at, say the to take the underdog role almost, and then kind of take a deck to the top. That's just my assessment.
What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with everything the Thunder just said. Especially, I can attest. This weekend, I was that person who wanted to play the other deck. Part of it for me as a writer, and I specifically write about Ayla, and I specifically write about how, and I made a bunch of videos for Patreon with Qui-Gon. I like being able to say, all right, when I say these things, I'm looking for that ethos, like I want people to know that when I write about these things, I'm trying to be genuine and I really think they're good. Part of that, I didn't do at Worlds when I was like really into Yoda Riken, but I just didn't think I just like had a moment of, truth. I just didn't think I could get there with Yoda Riken. So for me, it's like, I built this deck. I think it's good. Can I win with it? But now that I did that and I I went 7-0 or whatever in Swiss, I can prove that, I can still make a deck. I'm being authentic when I write, which is important to me as a writer. But like, if I really cared about the regional and like felt like I needed to win the regional and didn't care about my reputation as a writer, then I would just play the best deck. For me, what I think people are not respecting about the Vader deck is Chip. Tell me your feelings on Sabine Ezra.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan.
Vader Greedo is the Sabine Ezra of this meta.
I don't know why I don't feel that. I was thinking about that in the car today, which is odd. Like, I don't know why. Maybe I just haven't played against it enough that I don't hate it yet. Like Sabine, I felt like I just hated it. I felt like I was powerless. I couldn't do anything. The Shadowcaster thing, I just wanted to flip the table, which I did. But Vader, I feel like maybe because it's Vader. Maybe that's the thing. Like at least it's Vader.
Well, what's more insane, like I get you couldn't deal with you can't mitigate Sabine, but you can't mitigate Vader either. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of work. Right. And Sabine, of course, like you could just get unlucky and roll it, but like he can also just, even if you do mitigate it, he can have the force speed to roll them back out, force strike, just still crush you with 8. Yeah. But it's very similar. It has, but it has an even higher floor than Sabine had, because I think Sabine was actually a pretty tough deck to pilot because it made dealing with those turns where you didn't roll 9 naturally really, really difficult. But Vader's not that tough. For one thing, he has 50% damage sides and they're huge. He can also just take 2 resources and play a fist. There's and then like you could play the Rat Skin. So it has a really high floor. You have to work really hard to beat a 15 health character. Like think of all the games you've ever played against Palpatine. You're like, Jesus, I've got to kill this 15 health character that can put shield on all the time. Vader has a 2 shield side. He still has 4 solution. There's a lot. And you could play Dangerous Maneuver. There's a lot of different things you could do. Right. So, I think it's very similar. I think it's very similar to Sabine, and people want to say like Vader does Vader things, but it's those people who can play it well and sequence correctly and build the right version, which is really, really key.
Was it the nerf to Snoke that made him pop up? Because really early on, the podcast that I listened to and the players that I watch felt like, yeah, it's all right, but it's not the greatest thing. It's tier 2 at most. And then Snoke gets nerfed, and all of a sudden, this is the greatest deck that ever existed. Why didn't we nerf this?
Snoke is really, really good. And I don't know if you caught what my teammate Honestly Sarcastic played at the Connecticut Regional and top 8'd with, but it was Snoke, Sienna, Rebel Trader. And playing testing against that in the days leading up to the event or the day before the event, I was like, Jesus, Snoke is still so good. He's just insane. He just trades your own health for damage. And if you maximize that health by playing a 38 HP deck, or 28 HP deck rather, excuse me. You can really, really leverage that into, with Sienna, huge resources. And then Sienna's ability to reset, the fire spray or the Umbaran hover tank, or you just get your regular extra activations via the fist. Snoke just ramps like nothing else.
I was glad to see Joe, kind of put Umbaran out there because I don't think that card has gotten enough love, and it's ridiculous. I don't know. I was a huge fan of it when we first saw it, and I don't know, it just really hasn't been getting a lot of play.
It's really strong. It's just easier to vandalize than a fist. You know what I mean? It's like impossible to vandalize a fist a lot of the time. So it's just a little bit more simple to deal with. But yeah, it's really. That special is just gross.
Yeah, I loved the Umbarian hover tank in Star Trek. It was so good. What is that thing even from? Where? Tell me when that was in Star Wars.
Who are the Umbarans?
That's a great question.
Chip, you take this one.
They actually live they live over on Amber Drive next to me. They're down the road a little bit. The Umbaran family, they're really good people.
Do you really have an Amber Drive next to you?
I do have an Amber Drive next to me, yes.
The street next to me is Goff Street, which I think is crazy.
Goth? Oh, Goff?
Goff.
Oh, like Jared Goff.
Yeah.
I didn't ask you yet since you're from Massachusetts. Are you a Patriots fan?
Oh God, yeah.
That was insulting to ask. Yeah, well.
I'm like obsessed with the NFL.
Oh God, I'm a lifelong Chargers fan. It's nice when you. That's my destiny life. The way the Chargers played, like I knew it wasn't ever going to be close. Like, oh yeah, they're going to play him. It doesn't matter where they play, they're going to be great. The kickoff happened, the game was over.
How the hell did you end up being a Chargers fan?
I don't know. It's a long story, but stupid. I root for the underdog. My brother, when I was 7 years old, pulled out a sports page and said, it's time you got to pick your favorite teams. Like, this was the day it was going to happen. And I looked at all the teams that were bad because I felt like nobody rooted for them. And it was the freaking Chargers, and that's what happened. Now I got a Chargers tattoo and cried last weekend. It was terrible.
Which one of the guys from Artificery did an article about how the Hyperloops are the Patriots of Destiny. Right. And it was like the greatest moment of my life.
Winning makes people not like you.
Oh, for sure. I mean, my first NFL,
don't like you.
It's true.
My first NFL game was the Snow Bowl game, the Tuck Rule game versus Oakland. That's the first game I ever went to. And I've just, I didn't grow up. I grew up an Oilers fan for Super Tecmo Bowl reasons.
There you go.
But once I became a normal age, I started following the Pats. Through the Bledsoe era. And I love Belichick. I love Brady. I love the Pats. And I was at the game against the Jets a couple weeks ago. And if the AFC Championship were in New England, I would be there because I would pay any price to go to an AFC Championship game.
It's funny because, Mike, I would say the way that they played against the Chargers, like there was no cute stuff, kind of like you were talking about with your deck. Mm-hmm. They just did 6 and 7 yard plays. You knew it was going to happen. They couldn't be stopped. They went all the way, scored, just kept doing it.
Yeah, not to become an NFL podcast. I bet the game heavily because I loved the Pats of the game, and I loved when they took the ball. And me and my friends were just like, "Oh my God, he's gonna put these guys on the field for like 10 minutes to open the game. It's gonna be brilliant," and it was.
Yeah, it was very sad. Ray, what do you got?
Before we end this segment, I just want to say I'm an Eagles fan. So
rip.
They had a good season.
Yeah, it had a nice run, but you could segue that now, I guess.
Well, how about Blue Hero being back? Didn't we have talk a while ago, like are two wides dead, like that's gone now? And
yeah, I wanted to get Mike's take on. I feel like we quickly after the Snoke point adjustment, I feel like we quickly jumped into a 2 wide meta, and I just wanted to get your feelings on that, like how you feel playing in a 2 wide meta. Are you more comfortable than a 3 wide? Because it's my preferred, meta, if you will.
Yeah, I don't know. I never think about like preferment in terms of that because I think in an all 2 wide meta, I think one of the reasons why people might prefer it is because it feels more even. I know that like when I'm playing Ayla, Qui-Gon, Bitter Rivalry, and I have 20 HP, and I sit down against like Joe's deck that has 28 HP, I'm like, shoot, like how am I going to do? Like this seems insurmountable, and it can be a feel bad sort of situation. So I would get why that feels better. It feels like Destiny when we first started, Awakenings only, where it was just a lot of 2 wide back and forth. I don't really prefer. I just don't have that preference. I just want to know I just want to try and figure out what the meta is and try and exploit it the best I can. Or find powerful cards like Qui-Gon and be like, this guy's ability is basically a 5th die, like sometimes a 6th die. So, how can I exploit that? But yeah, I don't know. Snoke going away just made things even. It allowed you didn't have to have that HP buff anymore because you weren't worried about taking 5 indirect round 1 from 1 die. It just wasn't a thing because Snoke isn't there to buff anything.
Now I take 6 from his stupid Shadowcaster.
Dude, where are your deflects, man?
You can't when he's got the stupid TLT.
How quickly are you letting him?
You know why? Because he's the Thunder, baby. The Thunder. You can't play the Thunder, Bobby.
Yeah, you need to get.
I need to get you to play
EMP grenades. You need some EMP grenades in your deck if that's your meta.
Yeah, my meta is Ray. That's my meta right now. It's pretty brutal.
Yeah, Lando 2's strong. He's definitely good.
His dice
at first,
crazy.
I was really excited about him, and then I pushed it out there, and I was on podcasts saying how excited I was about Lando 2, and I think he's really good, and any character that can net you a benefit when it comes to resources throughout the round is going to see play. And then I couldn't find a home for him at first. And like, I was like, oh man, I'm really eating my words because he just doesn't feel that good. But it's come like full circle and I'm throwing him everywhere. Like, I just love the guy.
Yeah. I mean, he's even good in Mill with Leia. Like, there's just so many places for him.
Yeah. That deck is sneaky good.
Yeah, it really is. And I think Mill in general is really still, but yeah, I don't know. It's the Shadowcaster's tough, man. It's like right before this weekend, everything felt bad. It was like, Jesus, everything's so powerful. These dice are so insane. How do we even deal? And I just felt like getting tanky and turning dice defensively was the best way. And like I wrote about, like I said this week and even previously tonight, I just really like things that turn dice right now because that's how you deal with the Shadowcaster. Chip, you just have to, if you can't remove it, you've got to turn it.
Oh, that leads us into a perfect talking point, Chip.
What's that, Ray?
Me and Bobby were both theory crafting of a similar pairing. He had wrote about it. I did a little video for it, but it was Ayla, because she's so damn good right now, and Poe Dameron, because they're I think the only two characters that can really manipulate your opponent's dice consistently.
At least good characters that do other good things. So because you have the 4 sides total on your character dice, you're like 41% or whatever to roll one of those specials, when you roll out. And because Poe has the double focus too, it makes it even stronger. Obviously you need to, have that delicate balance between using all your dice defensively and also offensively. But that's sort of what Ayla is really good at. And even Poe to a degree. Ayla does both, but Poe you can choose.
Right. Yeah, I think that you definitely, like you said, have the balance. But it's almost like, your upgrades are extremely necessary at that point because you're going to be sacrificing some of your character dice that's going to turn into a focus or something that's going to be defensive.
Yeah, you definitely have to play the game. There's like a skill in Magic. It's using your health as a resource and like how much damage can you really take. In Destiny, it's a little bit scary to go to 1 health left. And it can be in Magic too, given like whatever deck you're playing or playing against. But like how much, there's a breaking point. I need to let Vader resolve this 3 against me because I need to do enough damage to put him in kill range next turn, even through a Force solution. Which is why I think I mentioned this maybe in the comments on Facebook, but like I really love Treasured Lightsaber. Especially like a little bit in Ayla, but like if you have Ayla and Poe, Treasured Lightsaber as a first action rollout, is just completely like to be able to threaten 3 unblockable is so huge. 2 unblockable is light years away from 3 unblockable because Ancient Lightsaber protects you from a 2 unblockable. There's so many things that 3 is just better than.
Right.
Are you going to be running that, Ray? Is that your new deck? I feel like you wrote it, but you played it once on the video. I haven't seen it again.
My thing about it is it's like really favorable into Vader. And it does feel like, you can kind of keep up with them and keep them off. And it almost becomes like annoying for the Vader player. But into the field, when we see things like Shadowcaster resets and, we'll say vehicles in general, and then you have Mill, I just think it falls a little bit short. Like I was playing against a Mill deck and it felt cool to like turn a discard side to a blank. But then it's like, well, I just sacrificed a card in my hand for, and I'm not going to deal as much damage as I need to push through. So, like Bobby was saying, it's a balance. I just don't know how well it favors into the field.
A lot of decks that are good against Vader are rough against Mill, like real rough, because you want to play so defensive, but then Mill really preys on their ability to mitigate everything. And so it just becomes so easy for them to just shut down all your damage.
Sideboard.
Yeah,
that's my hot button topic.
Not happening.
40 card decks. I'll die on that hill.
Love it, but it's also not happening. I'd love any change. I'd love for them to comment on anything, but that's.
I'd love for them to remember that they own
make
Destiny.
A game. Yeah, just say anything. If they said there's more Transformers news coming out than there is about Destiny.
There's a meme that this game is like the Kevin McAllister of FFG games. It's like, are we in fucking France? Did we forget something? Jesus, that little blonde kid, Kevin.
It's definitely Destiny.
Home Alone.
Would you, if you had the decision-making powers, which Mike, I'm ready to grant you right now, you make Theed go away? Was that a dumb idea?
I mean, it seems it, right? Everyone's playing it. I don't think about that stuff too much. It's just like, it's really, really strong. But I think it's kind of interesting in a way. Like, people are playing Taking Ground to be able to play their Theed, which, battlefields have never meant this much.
Right.
And you can play things like no one's playing the card Across the Galaxy, which is a huge blowout. Do you know what that one does?
Across the Galaxy. Remind me on that one.
It's a 1-cost yellow event, neutral, so either side can play it. Spot a vehicle to change the battlefield to the other one brought to the game.
Yes.
And if you don't control the battlefield,
use its claimability. Gain a resource.
So it's free.
Jesus.
It's literally free if you don't control the battlefield. So if they start on Theed, and God forbid they play something first before activating Theed, like my jabroni ass plays Steadfast first, you're just like, switch the battlefield. You don't get your Theed. You don't get an upgrade this turn. And I'll get my resource back. Thank you very much.
See, I'd be so excited to have,
Of course, you need to have a vehicle, but yeah.
Yeah. I'd be so excited to, you have to have your vehicle out, right? To have Steadfast in my hand, particularly opening turn, boom, there it is. That's one of the things I look at decisions you've made, Mike, and that I struggle with, and being, not a as competitive player, is the decision to run one or two of a card, right? Mm-hmm. And running two Steadfast versus running one overconfidence, or whatever it is, making those decisions. Why would you run two? What goes in that decision? Running two Steadfast versus something else. Well, how do you make those? I just don't know.
Steadfast specifically, I mean, I can just tell you that it's because you want the opening hand frequency. Because once a card's in your discard pile, it's just a better willpower. It only moves 1 damage.
Right.
But that ability to move 2 damage at the start of the game is massive. I played against Manton, the national runner-up, and he was on Bitter Rivalry Thrawn Snoke, and he put 2 damage on his Thrawn. So a Steadfast as my opening move there puts Thrawn at 4.
Right.
That 2 damage swing, I mean, it's a 4 damage swing. It's absolutely massive. Whereas Overconfidence, if you think about what Overconfidence does, it's just not great. You can't Overconfidence a Shadowcaster in a TLT, right? Because if the Shadowcaster is lower, it didn't do anything other than roll 2 dice for a resource. So Overconfidence isn't amazing right now, and I'd rather just play my Beguile was my second Overconfidence, So what I try and do is I try and find substitutes for if I'm not going to play one, what is there a better version, or do I just want that extra piece of mitigation? Right. So the one is tough. So you've seen my list. So you've seen the one of You Were My Friend. What did you think of that card?
I love that card.
I had to ask him what it did.
Yeah, so, for the audience, in case they don't know, it's a neutral force common. It costs 1, and it says turn a character die to any side. If you have more blue cards in play than your opponent, you may remove that die. So what that does is, if I have more blue cards, and I don't know if you know this, Chip, I know you know this, Thunder, because you're a genius, but Bitter Rivalry stays on table. So I automatically start with more blue cards than any other. That is as a 3-wide deck.
There it is.
So I automatically get that remove. But if I'm playing against Vader, I can just turn his die if I think that's a better move. I can remove a die if I think it's a good move. And I can use Force Speed, or just if they've already claimed, I can turn my own character die to a Qui-Gon 3 melee side and kill someone that they didn't see coming. So it's a mixture between a Force Strike or a Power of the Force, or whatever that one is that lets you, it's not Power of the Force, it's Use the Force, that just lets you turn it. But then, because I'll almost always have more, unless I'm playing against Plo Padawans, I'll always have more blue cards in play than my opponent.
That's next level, Ray. Next level stuff right there.
I'm sorry, I don't provide that to you. But,
next level. It's been 3 episodes. I don't know.
I do the best I can.
I got to give it up to my teammate, honestly, sarcastic. He's so good, and he's so good at finding good cards like that. Yeah. And even though I'm a huge Jedi Robes fan, he's the one that convinced me to put Jedi Robes back in. That's a huge reason I did well this weekend. And You Were My Friend is totally his call. Once I tried it once, I was completely sold. It's really good.
Ray, let me tell you this. The Thunder was on Rebel Trader from day one. Remember that, Ray? You were playing that little build?
I was.
What was it? Piet?
It was Piet Snoke Rebel Trader, and that was a spicy little build there.
It's not bad.
That deck's good. I played against it in the top cut of Gen Con this year. It was tough.
I feel like whenever I did it wrong. Like Rebel Trader was activating something on their end that they were going to activate anyway. Like Coercion, whenever I play that wrong because they were going to play the card anyway. So they're like, thank you. I was going to play this anyway. That was great.
Yeah,
so you just
Coercion's all about timing. Trader's all about timing.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't have timing.
I theory crafted like in that meta, like, I mean, I guess you could pull this off now, but like a double Trader Snoke. And then just be able to, I don't want to say like time walk someone, but be able to just keep them off so much because if they have two characters out, you're just like activate. And it really gives them little time to interact or lay down upgrades. And if they are, they're not going to gain that benefit. So I just didn't know how to get there as far as like damage goes and things like that. So I don't know. It was just a neat little thing.
Play Vader's Fist. Problem solved.
Right.
One of the things that Joe likes to do is like one of the reasons why he went with Trader is and played 2 Mind Tricks in his deck is because he can force, like once they roll out one guy, he can make them roll out the other guy. And then his Mind Tricks become super live, catching 3 or 4 or even, more dice.
You know what I was going to talk to Joe about because I saw him at PAX and
you talked to Joe at PAX? Interesting.
I did. Well, no, but here's the thing. He wasn't playing freaking X-Wing. Bobby Sapphire, Mike
literally
Gem.
10 feet away from
X-Wing
the Destiny table.
X-Wing games.
He clamored about.
Hey,
no.
I was over there enough to get intimidated by one Mr. Kowalski while I was over there. So I think that I was in the Destiny area plenty.
I don't think you'd be intimidated. I won't even go there. The thing,
you don't want to go there.
You know what I was intimidated by? I was intimidated by, honestly sarcastic, rolling in with his 1987 laptop briefcase that he brought in with all this stuff. What? You guys got a Patreon. You make $8,000 a month in Patreon. Would you buy the boy a Destiny case or something? Holy.
Dude, he likes his leather attaché.
What the heck was that thing?
Man. Joe is such an interesting character.
I thought he was I'm going to sign some documents for my insurance policy or my 403B. He pulls out.
Dude, Joe is such a freaking interesting cat, man. He is one of a kind. It's so funny, like, because I talk to Joe, like more than I talk to my wife.
Yes.
It's weird when you have a business partner, it's like you're engaged with them every single day.
Right.
Whereas like my wife and I are ships in the night. We're just like handing off kids to one another.
Right.
But yeah, Joe's an interesting dude. And he has some interesting qualities about him, but that leather case is hilarious.
It's got the red trim. It's sweet. I had a 386 laptop I ran in mine too. What is more important to the Vader deck? Is it Theed in your mind, or is it Vader's Fist, or is it neither?
I think they probably go hand in hand, right? You can't play Fist without Theed.
Interesting.
I'm going to disagree with Bobby Sapphire.
The Thunder.
You think so?
I'm going to say Theed by far because there was a time that Vader was still winning and people didn't jam the Fist in there. We almost all thought like the Vader's Fist shouldn't go in a Vader deck because you wouldn't be able to afford it. You need to save your money for Rise Against. But the
all right, no, go ahead. Finish your point.
No, that's it. I was just waiting for you.
I'll agree with. No, I agree with you. Theed's really important, but because Theed's so insane, like Vader's Fist is a free roll. You know what I mean? Like because Theed exists, you're like, oh, all I have to do is resolve one of these resource sides, or you play No Good to Me Dead, and then you just automatically get a Vader's Fist, even if I don't resolve one of those 3 rolls that I get at that turn. Like that's fine.
I think it's just. I look at Vader as a combo deck because, when with Greedo, we have the access to friends in high places, and it just feels horrendous if they, power action the Theed, you take your measly turn, and then they slam down, a sweet 3-cost upgrade, and then roll out, and you're thinking about, like you said, Bobby, you're thinking about like what you could take, what you could absorb, what you want to manipulate. And then they're just holding the friends in high places in hand. And, sometimes luck of the draw. But if they can hit the Fist or they hit another huge upgrade, it's just, it's a back-breaking part of the game.
Yeah, I hate facing a Darksaber almost as much as I hate facing a Fist. The Darksaber on Vader is like, oh, so that's a 5? I'm just taking 5 melee, like right to the face here. It's really tough. Vader's just really, really good. But yeah, Theed just opens up so many insane plays with the deck. I'll concede to Thunder there. Theed's more important. I just think like
the Thunder.
You can basically staple the Fist to Theed because you're not playing the Fist. You're not playing Fist now.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
All right. Here's another one for you, Mike. What's the better mill deck? Is it Yoda Leia or is it Millionaires?
Well, if you're expecting Millionaires, you play Yoda Leia. But against the field, I'll take Millionaires.
Why do you think that?
That's a homer answer. Moving on.
You think so?
Because you made it.
I mean, I'll say this: 2 of my teammates have won regionals Millionaires. So I think that the proof is just in the pudding. I think the extra health is really strong. I think Yoda Leia, if you lose a character, you lose the game. And if you lose a character in Millionaires, you do not lose the game. And you're much less likely to lose a character in Millionaires as well because of second chance. Like if you lose a character, it's because you wanted to lose the character. Like you're like, all right, I can sacrifice Anakin here. I can sacrifice Cassian here because I know I'll be able to drop a second chance on the other one in such a late game position that I'll be able to actually drop a second chance. So like, I just think that against the field, Millionaires is absolutely insane. And Yoda Leia is really, really good. But if you lose a character in Yoda Leia, you're done. I stand by that. Like obviously you can win games, but I think the majority of the time, once you lose one of them, that game is a huge uphill battle.
I agree with like what he said about Millionaires is like going into the field, Millionaires is positioned nicely. And even into Vader, I think it's better than the Leia Yoda. It's just interesting. I always want to be like a fly on the wall of the person who's proficient at mill. And I think that's a real meta call and I think that's going to happen later down the road in the next couple of weeks of if mill is really picking up steam, then people are going to turn to Yoda Leia to combat that.
Or Snoke.
Yep. What do you think about that Snoke Tarkin?
Oh, I think it's great. I can't wait to play it. I would if I had a regional this weekend and I think I was just not. Yeah, I would probably just play it because it seems so good. I love Tarkin. I was like when Tarkin first dropped, I was one of the first people like pushing that deck. I really like Tarkin, not Tarkin Snoke, but just Tarkin in general. I think I was on Tarkin's Seventh Sister way back when.
I don't think that they're going to admit it, but we can dig deep into the archives of the Golden Dice podcast Discord. The day one, I was really high on Tarkin because Tommy from Golden Dice got me on the Tarkin Seventh Sister. He was showing me, just drop a bunch of free upgrades or one-cost upgrades, and then, you have these crazy 4-speed plays.
He loved Tarkin. He was on Tarkin Afro. Loved it.
He was all about Tarkin. He's always been about Tarkin. And day one when Snoke dropped, I said, is it time for a Tarkin Snoke deck? And then we quickly moved into a 3-wide meta, and that was a horrible idea.
Yeah, I mean, in a 3-wide meta, it doesn't work. It's definitely one of those decks that only shows up when the position is right.
Right.
But it was this weekend. In fact, this might be the only weekend that it was, because if the Snoke 3-wide comes back, you won't want to bring that deck. I know it beat Joe in the top 8, but I think like Joe and I have talked a lot about like ways he could have adjusted his play, and it might still be a bad matchup by all means. And the Snoke Tarkin could be really good against 3-wide, better than any of the other Tarkin decks could. But mathematically, it's not ideal.
I will say if that deck is on the rise, I know this. I don't want to say this card has been taken a back door, but with the rise of Vader, it has. I recently played against a Snoke Tarkin, and I will say Entangle just hoses that deck.
Entangle, Feel Your Anger can be really good against that deck. I think we're going to see those cards come back a little bit.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
And that's what's great about a good meta is like it's unsolved and things are just constantly in flux throughout a regional season. And while Vader is continuing to rise, like people are working to beat it. It's not like the R2-P2 meta where every single regional felt like it was R2-P2 mirror in the finals.
That was one of the questions I was going to ask. Like, what's been more impressive? Has it been Sabine, like Kylo FN, the Vader deck, Snoke? What's his face? What's the Snoke deck before with all the freaking TIE fighters? What the hell is it called?
Thrawn.
Yeah, Thrawn Snoke.
Snoke Thrawn.
Which is it? Is it that oppressive now? And it doesn't feel that way because people are still trying to figure it out. It doesn't feel solved, like you said.
No, I feel like the most broken deck was the Rainbow Nines deck. That's a homer answer, but I do think that's the best deck that's ever been played in Star Wars Destiny. I just think that deck was completely absurd. I mean, for Joe and I to go 1-2 at a 490 person event or whatever with that deck is ridiculous. And for 4 of them to make the top 8, and I think there were only, like 6 in the room or something. That deck was just completely bonkers.
That's when the Hyperloops really,
why don't you tell some of the, I know I've heard this before. Like if I've done a podcast or something and I use like a reference to FN or something like that, why don't you tell like newer listeners about what Rainbow Nines were? Because that was
it was so FN 2199 is a character that's still decent. His he's got 3 damage sides that are to base. He's got a 1 range to 1 melee and a 2 melee for $1. But his ability is when you play a weapon on him, you roll that die into the pool and you may resolve it, and that is once per turn. Or once per round, rather, but it used to be unlimited. So what we used to do is we used to just play upgrade, overwrite, upgrade, overwrite, upgrade, and just play, we played Flamethrower because it had 3 base damage sides, one of which was a 4. And then we'd play Boundless Ambition and draw 5 more upgrades and just upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. And in my final round of Gen Con, I round 1 killed a 12 health Poe. And if you misrolled the die, sister takes a damage, rerolls your die for you. It was just an engine of consistency, and your third character was Balatik. So once you killed one of their characters, Balatik reset. You could do crazy things like use Night Sister to kill her, to do a redeployed gun onto Balatik and ready him. It was just crazy. It was such an insane deck.
Yeah, it was wild. They quickly had to change that.
Then they nerfed it. They actually, that's when they actually communicated about the game. They changed the rules. They actually changed the rules of the game.
Well, I think all it means is that the Hyperloops need to make some more broken decks, so they start nerfing our decks again. Hey, I thought they would nerf Millionaires for sure, but they didn't. They let it go.
Mike,
and we've won 2 regionals very quietly with it.
No,
by the time you release this, because I know you're not going to release this till like Tuesday or something.
Yeah.
I bet we have another one this weekend.
Saucy prediction right there, big time. Is it going to be? Do you feel like when you guys get together to make a deck, or before you go to the regional, this time you didn't? I mean, although you had some decks that people didn't expect, that there's that pressure that we're going to really come up with something that left field, no one's going to even come close to anticipating. Or do you feel like that's gone? That can't even happen now.
No, I don't know. It's the internet age, so it's tough. Like even the Millionaires deck, we honed that, and I think that's a skill we all share, is like seeing a deck and all right, let's make this deck real. Like one of the things that I think is scary is that we haven't sat down to make a Vader deck, but we saw that setup, the Anakin, Cassian, Yoda setup,
right?
And we tested it for a couple weeks and we made it really good. And obviously we did really, really well at Gen Con, putting so many of us with that deck in top 8. So I think that there is something to be said about, I don't think that we feel the pressure to make a great deck or anything come out of left field. I think Joe likes to do that, and Joe has his own mad scientist thing, and Cuenca especially, we'll come up with some crazy climate disruptor array stuff. But, I think that's just part of the fun of being, I don't know the best way to describe it, but I guess leaders isn't the right word, but, you know what I mean?
Yeah, innovative or innovators?
Yeah, sure. We really enjoy being innovative and being, how we feel like we're good at the game and good enough where that makes it fun for us. Is that's part of the allure. That's part of why we're doing what we do, why we play this game. Is come up with good decks. For me, it's I love writing about Star Wars, Destiny, and cards in general. So I think it's when you sort of take all that and put it together, that coming up with something interesting and taking it to an event and playing it as a team is something I really love. I really love the team aspect of the Hyperloops, and I've talked about that at length.
Yeah. Mike,
I remember when the Hyperloops were first making waves and things were really picking up, and then you guys kind of cemented yourselves at the top. I remember telling my friends and people at locals, I'm like, don't you guys see it? They make the meta and then they counter the meta the next time. I was like, they figured it out. They'll never be not on top. So it's been nice to see that, you guys are still on top, but hopefully my dark predictions of you guys creating the meta and then just countering yourselves is not true. But
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's we joke about it in our Discord. Like we swerve. Like I said I was going to play Mill, and then I played Sabine at Worlds because Sabine beats Mill. But it's not like everyone was playing Mill at Worlds. I just made a change. But yeah, I mean, there's some of that. But I mean, that's not like the fun. Like, yeah, we're keeping the new Millionaires list secret, but that's just because we want our other teammates to win regionals. But I do think it's fun holding the cards. But I also think that part of that is earned. Like we've certainly worked really hard to like put out good content, put out a lot of content, and be a product that people want to spend their time and money on. Like we have a really awesome Discord channel with like 300 people that are active every single day, talking about decks and sharing decks, and it's some great players. So I think it's just something that came through time and effort and obviously success. But that's just sort of the recipe for everything is time, effort, success.
Two things for you, Mike. One, and I appreciate you giving us an hour of your time, and 20 minutes of that with Ray's Mike. The last time you were on, I said I wanted to get the real like inside of track on the next hotness, and so I said, what's a character people haven't thought about that either you want to figure out a way to do something with, or that somebody's going to figure it out. It was Cad Bane, and that Cad Snoke came out like right after that. It was pretty cool. Who's that guy now? Who's that character right now that you're looking at going, man, why is this? Something's going to happen with this. It's going to pop. It might not be next regional. It may be the next set even with Convergence. But what's that one that you keep eyeballing thinking something's going to happen?
Man, I totally nailed that Cad thing, right? I mean, he didn't dominate or anything, but at least he came back. Like that was a coaster.
He was dead. He was dead, and he came back for sure.
Yeah, he was dead. Man, I wish I had something interesting. I swear that the best non-unique character in the game is Rebel Engineer. I think that card is completely insane. I can't believe how little it's used. It's used in Trilogy a lot, but man, that young lady knows how to party. I got to tell you, Chip, the card I'm most excited for is a card that is not released yet.
Ooh, that sounds spicy.
I like that.
I am all about a 16-point Mace Windu who pulls a lightsaber from his deck every single round.
Yeah.
He's got a 1 melee, a 2 melee, a 2 melee, a 2 focus, and a resource. And his power action, look at the top 4 cards of the deck. You may play an upgrade from among them. Place the rest on the bottom of your deck. If that upgrade was placed on a Jedi, give it 1 shield. Chip, I might not play another character ever again.
That seems good.
Windu comes out. That card, I am
I'm
very excited about that card. But I know that's not like a lying in wait card.
No, the one I thought you guys would pick up on would be Wolf, and it had a little bit of a spice.
Yeah, he's got a little spice. I think, like for me, I think the card, and like she's obviously gotten plenty of play, but I think that there will come a time when Kira is at the top of the meta.
Yeah, interesting.
I don't know when, but her ability breaks the game so well, and no allegiance is so crazy that man, that's a card I'll be keeping my eye on for a long time. I'll be following her career with great interest.
One of the things I watched you play early on when I first joined up with your Patreon, which, by the way, plug for that. You want great content, the videos you put out, the stuff you actually. Yeah, you got a big time. There you go. It's well worth it. Was Luke 3. That so much so that I grinded for a spot gloss. That's the one I freaking took, and I haven't played it yet. And I feel like something's there, and I just haven't seen him.
Yeah, and I think, man, the one thing that holds Luke 3 back for me, and I think one of the best blue hero cards is Guard. It's incredible. And like Shoto Lightsaber is not far behind. So, and those two work well together. And Luke can't use either really, really well. You know what I mean? Like Luke wants abilities and Luke's dice don't lend themselves to Guard. So like when you play Luke, you have to go from what is like mathematically probably the most successful blue hero strategy. But Luke 3 isn't going anywhere. You know what I mean? He's going to be around for quite some time. So I think you're making a right call here saying like that's a guy to keep an eye on, because when Shoto Lightsaber goes away and lightsabers are no longer like auto includes in Blue Hero, we might see Luke's training come back, which is a really strong card. I love that card There Is No Try. It's really good with Destiny. I know that'll rotate out soon, but in general, that's just, that has some strength to it. And abilities are good. And I got to imagine FFG, if they remember that Destiny's a game, want abilities to be good too.
You would think.
You know, it's a sneaky ability that is extremely underplayed. Counter Stroke. That card's good. I just don't think it has a home. It's like, you can jam someone back for like 2 discard if they put damage into the character that it's on. Like, it just feels really good. Some of the things that it can do. I was actually, I know you're a Magic guy, and you were saying going back to your roots. I was telling Chip, I wanted to coin it like mono blue burn, and I wanted to jam it with Ayla and Luke. And then just have all like the synchronicities, ripostes, steadfast, and then just see if you could just burn someone with add a hand damage.
I can't remember what Counterstroke does, and my internet is failing me.
Oh, Counterstroke it's pretty good.
Blue
it's
character
like
upgrade ability. Blue character only costs 2, Ray. It's after an opponent deals damage to attached character, you may resolve this die, increasing its value by 1.
And it happens at the same speed as like a suppressive fire, like that instant speed. So as soon as they deal the damage, you just resolve, and then you can go into your turn. It's got like a 1 melee, a 2 melee, pay 1. What else is on there, Chip? A discard.
Focus.
Focus. It's got a focus.
Yep.
Shield.
A focus.
Shield. Yeah. It's interesting. That's interesting for 2. It's almost like neutered because of how busted that ability is. But yeah, I mean, it's a good card. It's just, I would love it if it had a resource, and I would love it if the 2 melee didn't cost money. But yeah, it's definitely got some play.
Yeah, I just thought that
if abilities come back. Yeah,
that's my stinker card that
all right,
really
there you
has
go, Ray.
a lot of play.
Look at Ray making the meta.
You know what I'm saying?
Nice
meta maker. I honestly think that just like BB-8 is going to continue to be insane. Like, people like that deck is up, but I see decks where they're only playing 1 BB-8, and like, if you're playing vehicles, BB-8 might be the literal best card to put in your deck. He's completely ridiculous.
Yeah, I didn't realize the.
You just wrecked me with him, actually, Ray.
Yeah, I did.
Which is pretty sad that you wrecked me.
He's
with BB-8.
so good. He's like, if you could play that in like Blue Hero, like if that was a Blue Hero card, oh my god, in some way that'd be so amazing.
Yeah, BB-8. Who would have thought? We were talking about BB-8.
Disney did. They love that guy.
Yeah, he's coming back with a vengeance too.
I paid $150 for that robot that like goes around my academy.
The Sphero. I've got the Sphero. It's awesome. They made an R2 version too.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was, Amazon was clearing them out for $40.
Nice.
Pretty sweet. Are you guys trying to put together a tournament?
Yeah, we've talked about it. We're trying to find. I know like Drew from ABG's been talking because he wants us to do that May 4th weekend that Worlds was supposed to be. That's pretty short notice. We were definitely aiming to do summer at the earliest. But we have like a sponsorship pledge for a pretty large amount of money. Not that we would necessarily do cash prizes. But I would really, now that Worlds is pushed back, my dream is to host a tournament, and with the prizes for maybe like the top 2 are airfare to Worlds. I think that would be right up our alley. And I'm just trying to, like, the thing about holding a community event is like, what's going to make people come? Because people have held like cash events and people don't travel for those. So what is going to make people travel to a community event? And I think cool prizes, but I don't know what those prizes are.
Yeah.
Because like, it's not acrylics.
No.
It's not alt arts. So like, what do people want to travel for?
The city of Minnesota? No, not that. Yeah, what would they travel for? I think the community. If you knew that the best players were there, or the community that was there, it was in a city that was relatively cool. I think people would go. I like
to think so. I just like, when you're the one who has to
you're footing the
put
bill.
all their hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
It's not even the money part. It's like, I would feel bad if I put all this effort in and no one came and no one wanted to go and I didn't see that. Then like, that's a failure. And I don't know, maybe I'm too afraid to fail at something like that.
Yeah, that's a whole nother.
Is that too deep? Is that too deep for
no. I just don't think that. I don't think it would fail because the amount of support that other content creators would show, as well as the Hyperloops community themselves. So
yeah, I guess even if it was just 50 people that I liked, like that's a win, right?
Right, that'd be fun.
I think you would get well more than 50.
Well, Mike, you can come to our Schmeeginal. We're doing a Schmeeginal here at Just Games because Rochester got the big fat Shafty from our friends over at FFG. Because we make Altar and have a Patreon, right? But
the X-Wing regional list just came out, and it is scary how like some really popular stores around the country who like have really great communities all got shafted. So I know how you feel.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. But so we're
did FFG at least email you to tell you weren't getting spoilers and that you were cut? Because they didn't even email us.
Yeah, they did. We got a nice
email. They didn't even tell us, which is like that was the impetus for me losing my mind on Twitter on New Year's Day.
Right.
That was we started the new year, and it was the most entertainment I've seen. I probably will see all year.
Was that New Year's Day, or was it like 2 days after?
It might have been within the first week, but it was that was riveting Twitter entertainment.
Yeah, I was pretty. Just knowing that everyone else got a heads up, like, hey, you guys make money off Star Wars, so we can't work with you. Like, that's just a nice heads up, or whatever whatever was in that email, Chip. I don't even know if you shared that email, but
Happy New Year, everybody.
But to not get any of it is shitty. It feels bad.
Yeah, I'm trying to get over it. I still haven't gotten over it. They left me with Jabba the Hutt. That was our last spoiler.
Yeah,
left me with Jabba the Hutt.
That's
what I got.
Hey man, we got Rebellion leader, right. So I know how you feel.
I actually would have preferred that, just out of the comedy of that card. Well, listen. Seriously, in March we're having a Schmeeginal out here. If we get 20 people, it'll be great. Just to show them.
What is it? What's a Schmeeginal?
A Schmeeginal? It's regional Schmeeginal, man. It's our version of a regional. So we're just getting some community support. We're going to do it at Just Games in Penfield. We're going to announce the date and have fun.
Penfield what? Penfield like Danger Mouse's partner?
Penfield, New York, man. That's where all the action is. Penfield, New York. What
was Danger Mouse's partner's name?
Danger Mouse? Good Lord.
I don't know what the hell he's talking about, but
yeah, Chip knows because Chip's old like me.
I am old, but I don't know if I watched Danger Mouse all that much. I watched Inspector Gadget. I don't know if I watched Danger Mouse.
Yeah, I dropped a Short Circuit 2 reference to you earlier tonight, but I didn't. I was hoping you'd pick up on it.
Short Circuit 2. That's the
Penfold. Penfold is Danger Mouse's partner. Man. Really dating myself here.
Like 84 was my year. I feel like everything.
How old were you in 84?
Are you talking about Short Circuit with Johnny Five?
11.
Yeah.
I was 11.
Yeah, I told Chip said, hey, we'll start the call in a minute. And I said, KO Durf. And he didn't get it.
That's what that was from.
Oh, my. Just listen.
Now I got it.
He read it to me
Penfield
about 3 times.
God.
Oh, he did?
KO Durf. And he's like, what does that mean? As if I'm supposed to know.
It means okay, Fred, backwards, man. I got struck by lightning. I speak backwards for a couple minutes.
Oh, my God. That's right. All right. That was good. I'll give that to you. Here you go. You get the
that
day.
Bobby Sapphire. He's quick-witted. That's
he is really good.
You know where I developed that was when I was a toll collector.
You're the second. You're the second toll collector I've met in my life. Believe it or not.
You had a new customer every 6 seconds, so you always had to have a good one.
I feel like toll collectors now. So we live very close to the Thruway, and I usually take it to get to Just Games when we go there to play at our local. By the way, 4-0. Not to brag. 4-0. You know what I played? DJ Wicca Wicca Towson. Love that deck.
DJ Towson.
Love that deck.
Ever.
That was a good deck. It's nasty. It's nasty, and it's pretty like brutal on the player to like just remove die all day. It's really fun. I almost quit Destiny, but so we're right next to the toll booth, and that old. I think people are a little bit bitter about Easy Pass, Mike. Easy Pass makes toll collectors a little bit short.
Hey, there are no toll collectors in Massachusetts anymore. We got rid of
really
years ago.
That's
they're all gone.
Wow, unbelievable.
Rip my old career.
That's a lot of change.
About OK Durf.
You had to hold a lot of change, right? A lot of.
You gonna go watch Short Circuit 2 tonight, Ray?
Yeah,
holds up, still good.
Good stuff. Mike, listen, we appreciate it. Anytime you are very relevant. I don't know who told you weren't relevant. You had one bad tournament.
It's not. I mean, it's just, you go 1-4 at a region. And people, I think I lost 4 games to total in competitive events in the previous year, and people just, they think you're old news.
That deck is still a good deck that you played.
Yeah, I'm no good with it. I needed more practice. I guess I hadn't played in months, and wasn't good for me.
You should have just went up to the TO and be like, "Can I just re-enter my name?"
Rebuy
Chip Dolce.
Yeah, right. It's fine. Would have been fine. People would have believed you. It would have been just fine until you brought those guns out, and then would have said, "Look out."
Who's that guy?
Bobby South. What's coming up? So tell me real quick. We know about the Hyperloops, but what's happening?
Stuff.
Tell me.
All right. So actually, nothing's coming up. The regional season's almost over. I'm doing coaching sessions and just pumping out videos for the Patreon. I get a lot of PMs from people who want to talk decks, and I'm happy to help people out. But other than that, man, I'm just waiting to see when Worlds is, and then when regional season's over, we're really in this Destiny limbo, So I'll probably play X-Wing for a few months through the System Open season, which is like a competitive X-Wing event that I would love if Destiny has GQs, but GQs don't have as much gravitas as the System Opens. So nothing's really coming up. Just, living life, grinding. Kind of sad that there's no May Worlds because I was expecting to go to Worlds in 3 months, or 4 months.
Yep. Well,
and now I'm not.
Get comfy because who knows when it's going to be? Fourth quarter.
I know. Who knows? So that's the scary thing, Chip, is you say what's coming up, and I don't know, and and no one knows. I guess the one thing to look forward to is rotation and convergence, which is an interesting label for that set.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
And just hopefully get some spoilers, and not us. I mean, hopefully the community sees spoilers via FFG articles, and we just get some cool stuff. I think it'll be cool to finally get a Clone Wars era Obi-Wan. I'm really excited about Satine. I'm glad that didn't get brought up because I could talk about the Duchess Satine in that storyline for a really long time.
The Duchess, right?
The Duchess. You were crapping on her, right?
No,
you were crapping on her.
Yeah,
I wanted to call you out on this.
It looks like Grandma Jean.
You were crapping on Satine.
It's my mom.
Satine is my absolute favorite story arc in all of Star Wars.
Get out of here.
Do you know about her?
No. Well, it's something to do with Darth Maul, right?
Yeah, you might have to this might have to be outtakes because we're so off the rails here.
No,
but
nobody cares.
So Satine, Obi-Wan goes to, she's the Duchess of Mandalore. She's the leader of the sovereign state of Mandalore. It's not part of the Galactic Federation of Planets or whatever they call it in Star Wars. I'm in a big Star Trek kick right now.
Yeah, right.
And so, but Obi-Wan, and you find out through their interactions that they were involved when they were young. Obi-Wan protected her sort of in an Anakin Padme way. And they definitely have unresolved, latent love for each other. And then, when Maul comes back, and spoiler alert, Chip, I know you're trying to make it through the Clone Wars, but Maul murders Satine with the Darksaber in front of Obi-Wan.
Oh, no.
And it's that was when I watched Clone Wars. I was holy shit, this show is insane. Threw the Darksaber through her in front of Obi-Wan.
It's a cartoon.
Absolutely.
How did they do that in a cartoon?
It's the greatest cartoon that's ever been made in America.
This is Clone Wars that this happened in?
This is the Clone Wars.
So I
just love that Satine because I love Obi-Wan, and I love that opened up another side of him. He actually had romantic feelings for someone, and then just to see her get murked by Maul with the greatest weapon in Star Wars history, it's
oh my god!
It was just it was just to coin the great FFG phrase, convergence. It was just a convergence of it's a nerdgasm, You're just Maul's alive and Obi-Wan's in love and Maul killed Obi-Wan's girlfriend with the Darksaber. How could all this happen?
And now we have bitter rivalry, Chip. That's what the card is about.
Yeah.
Where does
that's why I wanted
Ray, don't even start with me, Ray. You've never even seen Clone Wars. Don't even start. Over there.
I gave you the light description that Bobby just so passionately went into. Go back, roll it back.
But then you started playing about Dragon Ball something.
That's why I wanted the Worlds mat. That's why I wanted to win Worlds so bad. In fact, if Joe and we came in 3-4, but if we both made the finals, I was scooping to Joe for the mat because I want the Darksaber mat because the Darksaber is my favorite thing in Star Wars.
But then they went all Harry Potter and brought the Dagger of Mortis. Where did that come from? I've never seen the Dagger of Mortis.
Chip,
I know where this comes from. It's going to be another.
Go ahead, Ray.
This is a loose one. I don't know their names, but it basically is like a wizard. There's a wizard.
There's a wizard.
And he's like a Force father.
There's a wizard.
Listen,
Chip, Bobby buddy.
He'll tighten up everything after this. He's got a son who's like the dark side. He's got a daughter who's like the light side.
Brother and sister.
And their brother and sister, and they're trying to like manipulate Anakin to take over, I guess, like the father's role of controlling the two of them. Right? Is that
it basically confirms that like Anakin is important, like in prophecy terms. So like he's really important to the Force, and the Force is really like, you know, they're essentially like gods, like Force gods from ancient times. And Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka get trapped there, and it's a planet called Mortis, and it's a storyline in Clone Wars that explores the origins of the Force and how it started. And essentially it's like, it's based on like some mythological gods that if you study mythological gods, you probably know which ones that they're copying.
Wow.
Ahsoka gets possessed and she like attacks everyone. It's a good one.
And then if you have upgrades on her and you pay the resources to the amount of upgrades, you can reactivate her, right?
You untap her. It's great.
Yeah, untap. Isn't that great?
That's her nickname, Shadowcaster.
I had two choices. I had Rebels in front of me and I had Clone Wars, and I went with Rebels. And it seems like I should have started with Clone Wars, but there was this whole thing where you have to like watch it out of order. Like if you start with season 5,
you don't
episode
have to.
2,
you don't
and then
have to.
Well, what the hell? Who even does that? That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, they just had a very interesting way to do the episodes, and they did a couple prequel episodes where like you've been learning about these clones throughout the series, and they said, oh, let's every episode, like let's every season, let's start with a throwback, like how these clones got started.
Oh, okay.
And so like that's why a lot of that stuff's out of order.
But are the Rebels characters in Clone Wars?
Several of them, yeah.
Okay, so they do crossover. There's mix there. All right.
Yeah.
I think Clone Wars, I think a lot of people have said Clone Wars will open you up to a greater universe and character base, where Rebels is just like a story, like a band of friends, you know, and they just follow them.
You know what else does that? Or bad mushrooms, right? You don't want to do that either.
They both have highs and lows. That's for sure.
All right. You've convinced Mike. I mean, I trust everything you say. I'll watch it. I'll get involved.
I'm a big Star Wars fan. Like Star Wars. Yeah. I mean, I just love nerdy stuff. Star Wars, Star Trek. I'm like super into Star Trek right now. I said.
Yeah. It's not lost to me. You said Star Trek.
Said that.
Yeah, Star Trek, huh?
I grew up watching like my uncle had it on like DVDs or maybe VHSs, I guess at the time. Had me watching the original Star Trek series, and at the time, like I thought it was cool, but never really took stock in it. And then they put it on Netflix, and I was like, "What the hell? I'm just gonna go back and watch them." And they're so entertaining.
Yeah, you should see the DS9 episode where they go back in time to that time period, and they spent $3 million to get the lighting right, so it was exactly the same as like the 60s and 50s. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, it's really good.
If you're just joining us, it's a podcast about stuff Ray's uncle watched back in the 70s. Real good stuff here.
I'm all about getting things off the rails, man.
No, I'll tell you,
like Harry Potter and Game of Thrones, Star Trek, and Star Wars.
I can't do the Harry Potter thing. That's my wife. I can't do it though.
I just don't have any friends that are nerds, so I use this time to my advantage.
That's right. You got to use it up. And is your wife into this stuff or no? Is she just
God,
no. Okay, good. Then you married up.
I
like it.
She's like a hairdresser, girly girl. She's not into. I mean, she likes a good. I got her to watch the Mission Impossible movies. That's about as far as
that's the deepest.
She married a jock, and then she gets him home, and she's like, "Oh, this is what you're really like."
This is it.
The secret underbelly of swimmers, right? Weren't you a competitive swimmer, Mike? Back
I was. Good memory. I was a competitive swimmer.
Give that to me, ladies and gentlemen. He's the greatest. I may pick on, and I know that you list. You're the Hyperloop that listens to all the podcasts. Joe says he doesn't.
Everything.
He probably
doesn't. I'm the only one that listens to literally every podcast. Like some group came out with a new podcast this morning. God damn it. I have to grade right now, but I'm going to listen to this new Star Wars Destiny podcast.
I send a lot of secret messages to you on those. Like when I had Drew on and try to set him up to say they were the greatest team to just get Hyperloops all fired up. I do that on purpose. I know what's going on. But Mike,
I write them all down. I write down all my slights.
All my slights.
Mike, I really appreciate you taking the time. It's over an hour. Ray convinced you to come on, and we appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Gem. He's the best. Thanks, Mike.